They mattered only in the abstract. The comet persisted regardless. She should have been up there, not at sea, trapped in horizons. She'd been stranded on this plane with that ship, the living planarship, Ways and Means. She'd been one of its thousands of crew. She'd departed for her own safety. Now its crew wouldn't even call her by name. They just called her the one who stopped them, even when they knew she was listening. It was as if she'd been erased. She hadn't actually stopped anyone. She had no say. Ways and Means reserved all final decisions for itself. They knew that. But when she'd spoken up, their master had apparently picked her alone to listen to. The rest of the crew couldn't despise Ways and Means. It had wormed its way into them. They had needed another target. She'd been right there, on offer. Ways and Means had made her visible. She gripped the railing, dug in her fingers. When she pulled her hand back, her index finger had left a long and shallow divot against the grain of the wood. She stared. Her finger was slender, ink-black, and blunt at the tip. She had no nails. The railing had left no mark or splinter on her demi-organic flesh. She hadn't meant to do that. It was possible for her to lose control of her body, but it had not happened to her before. The noises behind her had stilled. The crew was watching her. They were perceptive. She should not have sailed this way, should not have looked up. Eventually, though, there was going to be nowhere on this world from which she could not see the comet. She unfolded her legs and planted her feet against the deck, her finger-length toes unfurled. She levered herself up. Her cheeks were hot, and the corners of her eyes burned. These feelings were psychosomatic, a lizard brain response. She didn't have a real body, hadn't for centuries. It didn't matter what today was. She shouldn't feel any different on another. She hadn't the day before, or before that. Of course, her skin radiated heat. She'd been out in the sun too long. She glared at her crew. All of them pretended to have been hard at work. Her engineer busied herself with the rear sails outhaul. Her divers pretended to be measuring the wind. Osia opened her mouth. For the second time that morning, her body betrayed her. She had something to say, but not the strength to say it. She was going to have to reprogram her crew not to be so nosy, so perceptive. She turned back to the sea, and this time managed not to look upward. It didn't matter. Her memory was perfect. She knew exactly what she would have seen. Worse, she knew where it was going next. Chapter 2. Fia had seen death before, on a massive scale, and without looking away, but she had not seen death like this. Acid touched the back of her throat, but still there was something fascinating about it. She crept closer, quiet and careful as a mouse. The shed's door hung half open. It cast everything inside under sharp contrasts of light and dark. It etched a black halo around the man in the dirt. His twisted legs and slack mouth carved canyons of shadow. The shed and the body belonged to Bandino, one of the shepherds from the other side of this rocky valley. He had served in Treviso's militia, and sometimes still stood watch for the convent of St. Augusta of Treviso. He knew how to handle a spear and dagger. He had never been other than unstintingly rude to Fia, but he served without being asked. His face was blackened. His distended tongue burst through his lips. Red welts blossomed around his neck. He had been strangled. This wasn't just death. It was murder. She bent, reached inside his tunic,